Hey, welcome back to my channel, guys. So, look at that crappy fit. That IHS is only touching around the outer perimeter using that pre-scale film. So, no wonder our temps are so high. IHS is never flat, so we have to take it upon ourselves to fix that, and that's what they call lapping. So, we can see here where the center of the CPU IHS is kind of turning dark, not making contact. So, enough talking about it, let's just get it done. I pull that out of there. So as you can see here on the table, I've got some sandpaper. I picked up a cheap picture frame from Walmart for like $1.99. That gave me a nice piece of glass for sanding, and I have 400, 800, 1000 grit sandpaper on it, and then I have a sheet of 1200 grit here. You'll want to use the wet or dry type so that you can put some water on it and keep the grit from loading up with metal particles. So here we've got the IHS off the CPU. Really nice looking, but the appearance isn't doing us any favors. So let's get after this. We'll put a little bit of water here on the 400 grit, and we'll start with coarser grit and move our way up as we get it sanded down. So obviously I'm going to speed this up at different times because the sanding process takes about a half an hour. So I don't want to waste a lot of your time watching me sand. So as you can see, as we just do a little bit of sanding on there, it's only touching around the perimeter, same as what we saw at the pre-scale film. So sand, sand, sand some more. Have a look at it. And you can see that in the center of the CPU here, there's kind of an oval shape where it's sanding down the outer edge. It's far from flat, which is normal. All Intel IHSs are concave. So this will help your desktop too if you're having some high temperatures. You may want to delay your CPU and lap the IHS. So see the egg-shaped oval in the center is getting smaller, but notice it's wider on one side than it is the other. So not only is it concave, I think it's not uniformly concave. So we'll keep on sanding and until we get that bare spot in the middle almost gone, and then we'll start moving to a finer grit sandpaper. You see it's getting smaller little by little. Sorry for the reflection here. I didn't know that you were going to be seeing that in the video. It's too late, but trust you'll forgive that. So sand some more, getting closer little by little. Be sure to use a piece of glass though, or a granite kitchen countertop, something that you know is super hard and flat. So put a little bit more water on there. It's starting to get dried out. And sand some more, grind away. You can see that water is starting to get loaded up with some nasty looking sludge too. So it's taking that nickel plating off the copper. It's solid copper IHS from Bits Power out of Taiwan, which is really nice. It's carved out to fit the CPU die perfectly, and it has a little carved out spot where the uh, copper contact surfaces are on the top of the CPU PCB so that those are not shorted. It keeps it from sliding around. It's pretty nice, really. This is the uh, Skylake version I'm using with my KB Lake, so it's 1 millimeter taller. Helps increase the contact pressure on the laptop, having that extra millimeter of height. So we're getting closer, little by little here. I think we're just about ready to move on to the next grid of sandpaper. Yep, get just about there. So as you can see, it's almost gone. Got just that little small spot there. So let's move on to 800 grit. And that was about probably 20 minutes into the sanding process there. Getting it down to that point takes the longest, and you'll use the 400 grit. You'll use the 800 grit to finish flattening it out, and the 1000 grit and the 1200 to polish it up and make the surface less porous. That'll help with the thermal transfer to not have any deep scratches. So some of you may have already seen where I did this with the Eurocom Tornado F5 or the HID Evolution Evoc 16LG 1080, and it made a huge difference in the temps. So I'm hoping we're going to find the same thing on my Clevo P870. So now let's try the 1000 grit. Let's move on to that. Our little bare spot is almost gone. Hardly any evidence of it left. Matter of fact, it'd probably actually work better than stock right now if I just stopped right now, but let's just go ahead and do it right while it's apart. Yeah, that's sped up by 10 times normal speed in the video, so in case you're wondering, it took 10 times longer than what I showed to do that. So that's looking great. So let's polish it up with some 1200 grit. If you get a good quality wet or dry sandpaper, this won't wear it out if you use water on it. It'll keep it lubricated and keep the grit, the metal shavings out of the grit. So I'm going to go in kind of a circular pattern a little bit here. It really, I mean, some people advocate lapping in a circular pattern. I don't think it makes any difference. But you can go straight back and forth or circular, whatever floats your boat. The main thing is that it's flat and smooth. All right, and it's looking good. If you were hearing some harmonic humming sounds in the background, I apologize. I just turned off my U3 cooler. So, all right, and we've got that bad boy polished up, looking real shiny now. It actually has a nice reflective surface. You can see the reflection of my finger in there. So we're ready to put this thing back together. I'm excited. Hopefully it's going to work good. So we need to clean up the CPU. We've got some conductanate on there, and it's been there a long time. So I'm not going to reuse it. I'm going to go ahead and clean that off. I'm using alcohol prep pads that you can get from like Walgreens or Rite Aid. They're for people that would give themselves injections. These things are dirt cheap and they work perfect for this kind of thing. They have pure alcohol, usually 70%. Sometimes you can find the 91% isopropyl alcohol, but they're very cheap. They're disposable. They're a little small, but usually it's about the right size for to get the job done. So I got the old conductanate cleaned off of there now. I'm going to make sure we don't have any fingerprints or oil. Also, after sanding, you want to make sure that the IHS is thoroughly rinsed. You don't want any metal particles from your sanding to get on anything. So I sprayed it down with isopropyl alcohol thoroughly, then dried it off. And now I just cleaned it again with a sterilized pad. So I need to put some more conductanate back on it. Some of you may be wondering, I switched. I used to be a huge fan, still kind of am, of Liquid Ultra, but they seem to have changed something in the composition, and it doesn't work as well for me as it used to. It doesn't apply as well. It's kind of runny, and conductanates used to be runnier, and now it seems to be maybe just a little bit thicker. And the conductanate seems to spread out better now. I don't know what the people at Cool Laboratory did. I wish they hadn't done it, but it is what it is. So I'm using conductanaut now. So we want a nice smooth layer of that, covering every part of the die. No extra to run off the edge. And then we're going to want to put some on the IHS. Anytime you're using liquid metal, you want the two halves to come together wet. If you have the liquid metal thoroughly adhered to the surface you're putting it on, and you put the two halves together wet, then you have a greater assurance of making good contact between the two halves. If you leave one side dry, I think your chances of not having as satisfactory an outcome from the situation is probably a lot greater. So I've always been an advocate of putting it on both sides. The key here is in moderation. You don't want a big pool of it that's going to squish out and run out all over the place. You want to just paint a very thin layer. You can use the black dense cotton swab that comes with it from Thermal Grizzly, or if you have any, the brushes from Liquid Ultra, or even just the cheap craft brushes you can get like at Walmart um, that kids use for watercolor painting or whatever. Those work fine for something like this as well. And you can get a big assortment of them, like 15 or 20 for just a couple of bucks. So it's time to set the IHS back onto the CPU. It only goes one way. As you notice, it's got that carved out slot that corresponds with those gold contacts on top of the CPU. So you want to make sure you put it on the right way so that you don't short something out with the metal against those gold contacts. As you can see, I'm not gluing it down. I delidded the CPU to get the lid off of it. I don't see any point in gluing it back on. They're just going to make life harder for me later if I just decide to do something like this. So um, just really no point in gluing it on, at least not for me. If you're doing it for a customer, probably so. You never know what they're going to do. So since it's not glued down, I'm going to use my thumb and hold it in place as I latch it down so that it doesn't slide. If you just latch it down, it'll slide forward, and we don't want that. So we're going to place some Kapton tape around this area between the latching mechanism and the IHS. We're going to get that thoroughly clean with an alcohol prep pad. But around the perimeter of the IHS, there's a lip. It has a nice ledge. We're going to use the Kapton tape to stick onto that lip around the perimeter of the IHS and then bridge it over to the latching mechanism. There will be like a valley or a trench around the CPU that's totally sealed off to where if any of the conductanate runs off the edge of the CPU, there's no way it can get down into the socket area or anything like that. It'll be totally sealed off. So we're going to use Kapton tape for this because it's proven product, withstands high temperature, specifically designed for electronics. It's high temperature proof. It's also non-conductive. So it's a great product. Use it for a lot of things, actually. As you can see in the picture there, I have it around the GPU dies as well. The black plastic shroud that came from Clevo almost immediately started peeling away from around the edge of the die and had to use something else. I used to use electrical tape and it actually works fine, but I like the Kapton tape better. Here we go. As you can see, I take the edge of it and kind of push it into the side of the IHS so that I know it's jammed against it tight before I press it down against the ledge on the outer perimeter of the CPU. So I kind of take it at an angle and shove it against the CPU until it kind of distorts a little bit, and then press it down against the ledge. It works really well. Been doing this on both of my laptops. I'm absolutely positive I do the same thing on a desktop. Just cheap insurance. You can get Kapton tape from a lot of places. I bought this off of Amazon and it's not very expensive. So there we go. Press that down against that ledge on the edge of the CPU. Seals it off against any kind of uh, conductanate running down in there and shorten anything out. Let's put a BB sized glob of it there and start spreading it around. This cotton swab that Thermal Grizzly provides works really well. It's very dense. It doesn't have any lint, stray lint fibers. And if you press really hard, you can get it to start sticking and spread it out very nicely. You want to go as close to the edge of the IHS as possible. I used to not advocate that. Um, I do now, and here's why, because this stuff lasts forever. It never dries out, with the exception of it being exposed to air. So if you have poor contact between the CPU and the heatsink, it's going to dry out and get crusty. So if you take this out to the edge of the IHS, the part that's exposed to the air may get a little bit dried out and crusty, but what's in the middle is going to stay liquid basically indefinitely. I'm just going to reuse what I already have on the heatsink. As you can see, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason to waste my time cleaning it off and wasting conduct and not applying more. I'm just going to smooth it back out again. And as if you noticed also, as I was doing the IHS the same way, I get the area cover that I want and then I kind of puddle it back up into the middle, all the excess towards the center, so that when I put the two halves together, they're not only coming together wet, but any excesses in the middle, and it pushes out towards the outside. That way I don't have any extra on the outside that might run off the edge of the CPU. So let's put these, slap this together. I'm excited, looking forward to seeing what happens. I hope it does as well as the 16 LG 1080 Tornado F5 did. We're going to find out here in just a bit. And run all the same benchmarks that I did before so you can get a direct comparison. Use the crisscross pattern when you're putting in screws. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same as the number sequence that's on the heatsink, but the idea is that you're not tightening down one side and then the other. It doesn't result in a good fit, and in the worst scenario, it could actually cause harm because you're over tightening one side when you tighten down the other side. So I'm putting on the GPU's Fabia Nano Grease Extreme paste. It's actually pretty good. It has a higher thermal efficiency than even Cryonaut does. So check it out. You can get it from Amazon or Newegg, I believe. So, and I just took what paste was on the heatsink, scooped it up into a ball, and then smeared it back on. So both halves are going together wet here too, with a thin layer on both halves. Nothing's needing to go to waste. That was almost new paste. I think it was a week old that was on there. It was the same paste. It was the Fabia Nano Grease Extreme. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Maybe it's Phobia, but since they have the Fear This slogan, but so if I'm saying it Fabia and it's supposed to be Phobia, my apologies to the company and to you guys for saying it wrong. Laughing out loud. Anyhow, we're just about ready. I'm gonna zip the rest of these screws in here and then go around in a crisscross pattern, get them all tightened down. You don't want to over tighten these screws. The original screws are really soft and easy to damage the heads on them. I've replaced all of mine with stainless steel pan head screws. They're a lot sturdier than the original, but still there's no reason to over tighten anything. Just snug it down. You don't have to cinch it down hard after it's done. We'll slap this bottom cover on, which as a matter of fact I never use my screws in the bottom cover. Take this thing apart for experiments so often there's no point in it. So alright, let's start benching this bad boy and see what we got. So instant decrease in temperatures. Wow, that's major. Major decrease in temperatures. Got a little surprise for you right at the end of this video too. So don't run away yet. You'll see it here in just a moment. Actually check the video, the temps during video rendering. I rendered this video with the CPU running 4.5 gigahertz. So I'm going to show you the temps here at the end. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Remember to thumbs up and subscribe. Appreciate you. Take care.